Hey guys, what's going on? InsidiousSwede back again here for another YouTube video, and welcome to a long overdue video. This is not only something that I've wanted to do for a very long time, it's also something that a lot of you have wanted me to do for a very long time. But before I get into my favorite all-in-one manga series, I first once again wanted to say a huge thank you to everybody who came over and subscribed to my second channel, my new channel. I really appreciate that, guys, all of the support. I know it's not exactly what you signed up for in terms of me having a separate account, but I do appreciate the support nonetheless. And yeah, if you're interested in that, my gaming channel, there will be a link in the description from here on out, so you can check it out that way. But let's get into this video, shall we? So today, we're going to be talking about my favorite all-in-one manga releases. There are a ton out there, and I know a lot of you don't have, a ton of money to buy, a 30-volume series, so picking up these one-volume titles can sometimes be not only cost-effective, but also time-saving as well, considering it's a lot less of a time commitment. And so I pulled out from my collection 7 manga that I really enjoyed that were only a single volume long. And yeah, this is kind of like a top, top 10, top 7, so I will be doing them in order from my least favorite to my most favorite, but of course I enjoyed all of these manga. You cannot go wrong with a single one of them, so let's get into it. First off, the one I want to recommend at number 7 is Tropic of the Sea by Satoshi Kon. Now this one's really fun. It's kind of like one of those manga series based off of an urban legend, or kind of like something that doesn't seem real. Essentially, this town is kind of set up with a task to raise a mermaid egg and essentially take care of it until it can hatch, and then send it back off into the sea with the rest of the mermaids. It's a very interesting concept, and we kind of follow this young boy who's taking part in it. Just a really fun series. He doesn't really know what's going on. A lot of the elders kind of recount their experience when it happened 60 years prior. Just a really fun, interesting concept that I thought was very well done. Satoshi Kon, for as big as he is, I feel like sometimes his work goes unnoticed or underrated, and Tropic of the Sea is a great example of that. Really brilliant series with an amazing release from, I believe it was Vertical. Yeah, definitely Vertical. And just a fun series. There is one thing I would like to note, though, with Tropic of the Sea. It was a bit short. The ending was good, don't get me wrong, but I just wish it was a bit longer. One thing I've noticed with a lot of these single volume manga is usually there's not a ton of time to build up a lot of characters and backstory and flesh out worlds, because it is just a single volume. And although Tropic of the Sea did it well, I just think it could have done it even better if it had, maybe an extra 100 pages or so. But overall, very solid single volume manga, one that I thoroughly enjoyed, has a very unique concept, great mangaka behind it in Satoshi Kon. Overall, you cannot go wrong with Tropic of the Sea, which is definitely an underrated series in my opinion. Alright, after that, at number 6, and hopefully I'm pronouncing this right. I always get it wrong, look it up, think I remember, and then forget again, but I'm gonna go with Gyo by Junji Ito. Maybe it's Guile, I'm almost positive it's Gyo, but sometimes again, my brain switches the pronunciations and I get it wrong. You guys will definitely let me know, but this is one of my favorite, if not my favorite horror book of all time. This was fantastic. Uzumaki was also good, and I think this one, for me at least, was just a bit better. And I don't want to get into the story too much. For one, it's really just about this crazy demon fish creature, and I feel like if you talk, too much about a horror manga, you'll lose a lot of the thrill. So just know that it's creepy as hell. The characters, again, even though it's short, are very well done. They have a lot of personality, and that's very important for a manga like this. But you all know Junji Ito is the master at horror and building suspense, and this was just a fantastic read with weird creatures and a whole bunch of stuff going down. It's just crazy, a lot of fun. And yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. Again, I don't want to get into it too much because if I talk about, you know, some bigger aspects to the manga, you're gonna lose some of those shocking moments and surprise, you know, thrilling scenes. So I'll leave it at that. If you're looking for a great horror manga and for some reason haven't checked out Gyo yet, definitely do so. Comes in the beautiful hardcover from Viz Media, one of their better releases for sure. Also, you can check out stuff like Uzumaki, Drifting Classroom, stuff like that. A bunch of horror titles out there are fantastic. But for me, for a single volume, this one's the best. All right, number 5, we have the autobiography of Yoshihiro Tatsumi, A Drifting Life. Now, when I first was getting into this, it was starting off incredibly slow. I was like, I don't know, I don't think I'm gonna like this. But once you got further into it, started learning more about Yoshihiro Tatsumi, it really started to grow on me, and by the end of it, I thought this was a fantastic single volume series. The first thing that you're going to notice is the artwork. Something personally that I had to get used to. I'm more familiar with stuff, you know, in this realm, a bit more, I don't want to use the word modern, but that's essentially what it is. This is a bit more of like an 80s or 90s kind of manga style. And so once you get used to that, this is really just a fun, really long series about a man's life who grew up in some very interesting times, had a lot of interesting things happen to him. You kind of see how history affects him and his family, and also there's a bunch of comedy in here as well, even drama. It's just a really fun read, and something that, again, when I was first getting into it, I wasn't entirely sure if I was going to like it, but by the end of it, it was a fantastic book, and I'm glad that I stuck it out. So I think this might be really one of the only great representations of an autobiography done in manga format, and more importantly, done well. So if you're looking for an interesting read, something that's a bit different than from what you normally, you know, get from a manga series, A Drifting Life might not be a bad choice. So definitely look into picking this up. It's also, I think it's like $30, which isn't too bad, but if you look at, you know, Amazon, you could probably get it in the 20s, hopefully. So the price, also considering the size, is not too bad either. So definitely check out A Drifting Life if you haven't. Okay, that is 5 out of the way. Number 4, I have Inio Asano's Salonin. Now, this is a manga that I took way too long to finally read. It's a book that I had a hard time getting into until not too terribly long ago. I just said, you know what? I need to sit down and finish this because I just want to see what it's all about. And by the end of it, you know, it's one of those things for me where a manga has been recommended to me so many times over and over and over that I went into it expecting maybe a little too much. So by the end of it, I wasn't necessarily blown away. I mean, I've seen people put this as their favorite manga of all time. And for me, you know, I can't say that. I can say that I really enjoyed it. It's about a young couple, specifically this girl here, who basically they're trying to figure out their lives. You know, they don't know what they want to be. They don't know what they want to do. They kind of get re-involved with a band. There's a whole bunch to this I don't want to spoil. But really, it's kind of a, you know, a young adult coming of age, figuring things out, you know, young romance, young love. It's a really great, well-rounded slice of life drama romance series that has so many things going for it. Incredible artwork, as you can see. Inio Asano is easily one of my favorite artists of all time. It just looks so realistic, even though it still looks like a manga. It feels like these people look like real human beings, even though they're not. It's a very interesting skill that Inio Asano has mastered. But yeah, I liked it a lot, but I think I was hoping to love it, and I think it fell just a tad short of that for me. So I don't know if you guys have read this. I'm sure a lot of you had, if not everybody watching this video has read Salonin, but if you haven't, I'm sure you should at least check it out, because at the very least, you will at least like it, and maybe even love it. So give it a shot, but yes, I had to have Salonin on here for sure in terms of, you know, some of the best single volume manga of all time. At number 3, we have All You Need Is Kill. Really the only, science fiction based series on here. Again, it's really hard to set up worlds and develop, brand new things in a single volume. So a lot of times most manga that are single volumes are mainly based in reality. However, All You Need Is Kill did a very good job of giving us a world that felt real while also having a ton of science fiction into it. And I'm sure most of you have seen the Hollywood movie Edge of Tomorrow with Tom Cruise. This is essentially that, but I think it's more, loyal or accurate towards what the original light novel was, because I think both Edge of Tomorrow and All You Need Is Kill are based off of an original Japanese, either it was novel or light novel, I can't remember, and this adaptation is actually drawn by Takeshi Obata, so as you're going to see, it's incredible artwork, beautifully looked, drawn and presented, and a lot of similar things to Edge of Tomorrow, but also different. And I just had a lot of fun with this. I think this is one of the few books that I just wish was longer. I wish this was like an ongoing series where maybe, Takeshi Obata and the writer could have taken the original story and turned it into more of an ongoing while putting their own ideas into it. I think that would have been a lot of fun. But for what it is, for a single volume manga, you're not gonna get any better science fiction, single volume series than this. This is top of the list, number 1 for that category, and I just had a lot of fun. I've actually read it twice. It's just a fun read. It goes pretty quickly because it's mainly action. You're not getting a ton of dialogue, and so definitely check it out if you haven't yet. Again, beautifully drawn, nice thick book. Just overall a great read. So All You Need Is Kill is here at number 3. And at number 2, we have The Gods Lie. This is a, coming of age story about a young boy and a girl who are living very different lives. And it's hard to really talk about this manga because it feels very vanilla when you're first starting it. Like, this boy has a crush on this girl. She's, a lot more mature than him, has a lot more, responsibilities, and has to take care of her younger sister, and somehow this young boy gets mixed up into their life. It's a very interesting thing, but then all of a sudden something happens, or rather something is revealed, and it completely changes the entire manga. And this, honestly, you cannot get any better of a length for a manga series. Sometimes these are not long enough. The Gods Lie, for as skinny as it was, is a perfect length for this story. It captures everything just right. It's kind of like one of those moments in time where it's just a very tiny aspect to characters' lives that you're just getting brought into for a moment, and then you're leaving once everything kind of dissipates. And again, with the climax being as good as it was and the ending being as solid as it was, The Gods Lie might be the best single volume of manga I've ever read, although I am having it on number 2, specifically because of what you're going to see in just a second. But yeah, The Gods Lie, guys, it was fantastic. Definitely check it out. But the one I wanted to put at the number 1 slot is probably my most recent single volume of manga that I've read, and that is a memoir called Ichief. This is about the nuclear power plant disaster after the earthquake in Fukushima, and it kind of details that entire experience. Now, this is a book, even after I'm putting it in this video at number 1, I'm sure is going to get overlooked, but this was just such a fantastic look into such a tragedy, such a horrible disaster that people are still to this day, even though it happened back in 2011, people today are still feeling the effects of, and it's just a really interesting look. It has incredible color pages thrown in the middle of it as well. Also, kind of looks like A Drifting Life, but I think a bit more stylized, if you will. And wow, it was just such a fascinating read, such a powerful kind of look, again, into this whole disaster that took place in Japan, about real people, if I'm not mistaken. I'm hoping that's right. I'm almost positive this is about real people, or maybe just their names are changed or something, but I know that this look is a very realistic look into that whole thing, and it kind of takes more of an upbeat approach on the whole, kind of disaster that happened, but at the same time, it definitely dealt with a lot of the more serious things as well. If you haven't read Ichief yet, probably the most underrated book on this entire list, definitely do. It's worth your time. It was a fantastic read, and just something that I think deserves a lot of praise for how good it actually was. But that is my top 7 or my favorite single volume all-in-one manga of all time. Hopefully you guys got something out of this. There's a bunch of great single volumes out there. A lot of them are very underrated because they are not an ongoing manga series. Unfortunately, that just happens to be the case for series like this, but hopefully one of you found, or all of you I should say, found at least one new book to check out in the future. Let me just briefly get all of these back on camera so I can show them off one more time. Hopefully it doesn't make too much noise. Let me adjust the camera just a bit for you guys so I can get a better look at all of these. So here they are, all 7 of them. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Hopefully you found something to check out. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. My name is InsidiousSwede, and until next time, take care.